Hello everyone, welcome back to Jita Ki Siksha. This is day 2 of Zero to Awesome Python Challenge 2021. Today we will get started with Python. We'll set up the Python software on our system and we'll start coding Python. So just let's get started. First of all, open any browser and just type Python download. So once you just type this link will appear, which is www.python.org/download. Just click on this link. This link will also be present in the description. If you find difficulty, you can just click the link from the description. So because I have Windows machine, it is telling me the latest version for Windows is Python 3.9.1. I can directly download from here. Once I click on it, it will get downloaded. Or if I want a specific version, I can click on downloads and scroll down. You can see all the version of Python is available here. So whichever version you want, you can directly download from there. But I'll be downloading the latest version. So I'll just click on Python 3.9.1, this particular link, and it will download the .exe file for me. So once I click on this, so it will show me the installation process. So we have to choose that we want to do the automatic installation or we want to do a customized installation. So if you click on install now, it will basically install in this particular path. So always basically it uses this. It basically install it in local programs, Python 3.39. So I usually don't go for this path. I'll use a customized installation. But before selecting any of these two options, always remember to check this box. We are adding the Python to the path. And now you click whichever option you want. So for now I will go for customized installation. So we will just keep like this and we will just click on next. So it is asking me which path you want, like do you want to, it is just basically showing me that okay, this is the path where you want to do it. You can edit this path and we can choose the desired path where we want to store our Python. Right. So for me, I will choose this path. You can also do the same, just like me. Then let's click on install. So it's installing. It takes a little time. Okay, so setup was successful. Okay, the Python setup was successful. It is telling me. And now we have to click on close. So Python has been installed. Python 3.9.1 is now installed on the machine. So now let's just check it. So it is showing me Python 3.9. So means all these things have been installed. I also have Python 3.7. So it is also showing me Python 3.7. But if I just type Python 3.9, it will just show me Python 3.9 related files. So let's start. So now we have successfully installed Python on our system. So now let's get started with Python and let's see what we can do with Python. Okay. Open any place, create any folder and let's make a Python file. So I'll open a notepad and I will write some sort of Python syntax. For now I'll use print command. So print command in Python, what basically it is, does that it displays the result on the screen. Okay, so when we are saving it, always remember whenever we are saving a Python file, save it with an extension .py. Okay, so now let's execute our first Python file. So let's open first command prompt. Okay, so how we basically execute any Python file, that we have to type Python, then we have to type Python file name and its extension. So its extension is .py. So now we'll press enter and it is saying, and it has executed the command which we wrote, that is, and it's saying hi everyone. So this is how you can execute a Python file. Well, before that, first you have to check that Python has been successfully installed in your system or not. For that, go to the search bar and type cmd, or just open the command prompt and type Python. So if Python is installed in your system, it will show the Python shell like this. So here the whatever command we wrote in the file, we can also run here. So it works. If I want to execute this, I just have to write the command, like basically in the Python shell we can do four kind of operation: read, evaluate, print, and loop. So basically these are the four things which you can do in the shell. The shell, basically in the shell part, you can execute one liner operation. You can create a loop. You can do all sort of mathematical operation, and you can just see the result. So let us do a small math operation. Okay, so if you want to exit this, you just have to type exit and just the closing bracket parenthesis, and then press enter. So you will be able to get out of it. Fine, so we are clear with how to execute a Python file. Python also whenever you install Python, it comes with two tools. It basically gives you two tools. So one tool is Python shell. We already have seen how to use the Python shell using command prompt, but if you want, you can directly use Python shell also. So this is Python 3.7. So I have Python 3.9.1 and Python 3.7. So for this demo purpose, I am using Python 3.7. So like we have already talked about, that we can use print statements, we can do any evaluation. If we want to store the value of our evaluation, we need to assign it to a variable. Okay, so basically what is a variable? Variable is a temporary location where you store your values. For example, suppose I have to do an operation where I want to first evaluate. Okay, let's take an example. Your principal is 1000. Your rate is 10. Your time is 2 years. And you want to take out simple interest. So P to R into T. Yes, principal. That is the formula. So the variable are principal, rate, time. So it's telling that my simple interest is 200. So that's what basically variable are used for storing the values, so that we can use those values which are stored for the later purposes. Fine. And don't worry, the errors and all this keeps on coming. You can always try to rectify the errors. I will not, you know, what to say, edit the errors out, whatever I'm getting it, because this is a part of learning. The more you will get error, the more you'll understand how to solve it, and then you can go on and on. The silly mistakes will keep on happening. So every time, whenever if you get an error regarding any variable, just check it that you have actually defined it properly or not. And sometimes silly errors happens. Okay, so we can do these kind of operations. You can also do a loop here. So I'll just create a small loop. So what is loop? We will cover it later classes thoroughly. But basically, if I have to tell you in a simple term, loop means, suppose we want to do a task and we have to do that task repetitively. So, rather than doing it every time the same thing again and again, we can just create a loop and that will do that task automatically for us again and again. One thing, remember that Python is sensitive to indentation. So Python actually follows indentation. So if I have created a loop, and where if I have after creating a loop or any sort of syntax where your line ends with colon, after that whatever line you want to write, you need to make an indentation space there, and then you have write. You cannot write in the same line, otherwise it will basically same indentation, same space, otherwise it will create an error. You can see I'm able to print 1 2 3 4 5 9. Let us check once more what is the indentation thing is, so that we all get on the same page. This will throw me error. Reason is it needed an indentation, because I have created a loop and I have like whatever command I write, and if it ends with colon, after that whatever steps I want to include, those steps should be with an indentation. If you don't mention an indentation, it will not understand, it will throw an error. Okay. And not only for loop, even if you are creating class or any concept like that, even if you're using a conditional statement, then the successive basically the codes have to be written with an indentation. So far we are clear that what are the things we can do in the shell. We can read, so we can read any data, we can evaluate, we can loop, and we can print. Fine. So now we have learned how to create our own Python file. We learned few operations which we can do. But one thing is that every time, typing in a notepad, and it is little not, basically it is not that convenient. So what we can do, Python has provided us its own editor, which is idle. So basically it is an ID, integrated development environment. What is an ID? ID is nothing but uh, it is like a tool which provides that editing, which provides us where we write our code and we can debug it and we can run it. So it also, we can do the things which we can do it in the shell, and we can also uh, edit the code here. So these all sort of facilities are provided by idle. So idle is Python's own editor. We also have professional editing IDs like PyCharm, VS, but we'll be now focusing on idle and we will try to learn about it. So like I said, we can do all the things which you can do in the shell interpreter. Okay, so all those things can be done. Also, here we can, before that we were writing in notepad, here we can directly type in idle. So in this editing, basically in this editor, what happens whenever you are typing it, it gives you a lot of features. Suppose if you are writing a syntax which is not correct, it will give error, it will tell you that the syntax is not correct. For example, okay, you have to save it. And it will directly save it with .py syntax. Now I will just run it. It is telling invalid syntax. Okay. So unless you are writing correct syntax, it will not let you run. Source must be saved. Just click OK, and then see, now it is able to run it. So what is the use of writing in idle instead of a normal notepad or a simple editor? The thing is that in here we have provided with debugging tools. We are provided with an editor, a debugger. So let's try. We can also change the format here. If you want to change few things here, you can just go on and change. You can, so option is there. You can configure idle if you don't like the font, or if you think you want to increase the font. All those things you can do here. Just click OK and see, now we have just changed the style. So all these things are provided in idle. If I have to say, basically you can write the definition of idle so that it helps you. Idle is the Python's integrated development and learning environment. And I've already seen the Python shell. And Python shell is basically used to read, evaluate, print, and go. Python idle comes included in the Python installation on Windows and Mac. It provides a file editing platform, and we can get automatic indentation and we don't have to write the fully code. It will auto complete for us. We can change the format. All these things we can do in the idle. First, let's change the format again, because this is not visible properly. So let me select one good format, font. I will increase the font size and I'll apply it. Cool. Fine. So do you remember that when we were typing in Python shell, we were creating a for loop, and if we were not doing the correct indentation, it was throwing us error. So we have to, after typing, we have to put space. But here, just if you press enter, it will automatically get the right indentation, and it will help you in that. So print. So all those things, where to put the space, where to give more indentation, where you have to put a tab. So basically all those things this idle take care of. Now let me run it. Let's save. Okay. So now you have learned how to use Python shell. You have learned how to run a Python file in command prompt, also with using idle. And we know now the difference between Python shell and idle. Basically, idle allows you to create, read, edit, and execute your programs under the same roof without touching the command line. And you can also access Python shell from idle. And we know what are the things we can do in Python shell. We can do basically REPL, which is read, evaluate, print, and do. Okay, now let's do some more operations, some more commands which you can use. Let's make a variable, and this is a number type. Later on we will go in detail about all the variable types, basically the data types. So we have a command dir. So basically dir, what it does, that it tells us that what are the attributes related to this variable and what are the operation we can actually perform on these variables. If we use dir on print, it tells us all the associated function attributes, dictionary list related to print. If you want to learn about basically some command and you don't know what basically it does, you can use the help command. You just write help and put the parameter you want, basically your function you want to know more about. So suppose I want to know more about dir. So it will give me a definition. It will tell what it is basically. If I write help and I want to know about print, it is what basically print function does. Print the values to a string or to sys.std by default. Fine. This is all for today. Just keep on practicing it, and I'll meet you next time. Thank you.